All right, welcome back for part 2 of the Eastern Hemisphere trade routes during the Middle Ages. So you're looking at in the background the video game Ghosts of Tsushima for PlayStation 5. We're going to be talking about Japan and the Mongols, and believe it or not, the video game covers the Japanese defense of the island Tsushima from the Mongols when the Mongols were invading Japan. So a lot in common with this unit as we're talking about the Japanese and the Mongols, and that's represented in the video game, so there'll be lots of clips for you to see throughout. Hope you enjoy. Okay, first up for Japan. There's a map, as you see. Japan is made up of 4 islands, and it's an archipelago, another vocabulary word. Archipelago is a chain of islands, so think of them as mountains that are underwater sticking up out of the ocean. So in between Japan and the mainland, you have the Sea of Japan or the East Sea. So if you're in Russia or China or Korea, you call it the East Sea. Japan calls it the Sea of Japan. Switching your focus over to the left of the picture, that is called a torii. It is a Shinto shrine, and Japan is very much influenced by its proximity to China. So proximity is another vocabulary word. Proximity means close. So Shinto and Buddhism coexisted as religious traditions in the Japanese culture. So that's kind of strange to have 2 different religions work together. Like you can't have someone being Jewish and Muslim at the same time, or Christian and Jewish at the same time, because there are certain conflicts between the 2 religious beliefs. But Shinto and Buddhism coexist, they go together. So that's something we're going to be talking about here in a few minutes. So next, how did China influence Japan? Remember, we said the word proximity, they're close. So there's 3 specific ways that China influenced Japan. It's writing, it's architecture, and Buddhism. So we're going to take a look at each of those individually. But in the writing, a lot of people would say, oh, I don't know the difference between Chinese writing and Japanese writing. There is a difference. Korean as well. They're similar, but they have some key differences. Architecture is the style of the buildings, and that's pretty simple to see, and we'll take a look at that as well. And then Buddhism. Buddhism, remember, started in India, but then it spread to China, and eventually it spreads to Japan. So that's another way that China influences Japan. So here we have an example of Japanese writing. Just of interest, in the beginning, in Japan, because of the influence of China, they actually used Chinese characters. But over time, Japanese went from only a spoken language to the adaptation to where it was also written down. So the characters are similar. It's almost like how Spanish and French have some similarities, somewhat like that, but it is complicated. There are different ways that you can identify the differences between Korean, Chinese, and Japanese writing. Korean writing has more circles. Japanese writing is a little bit more simple compared to Chinese writing, which is much more complicated. Now with architecture, again, an architect designs buildings. You can see from the picture, this is called pagoda architecture. You can see multiple roofs and the angle in which the corners kind of point up a little bit. But what I did is I went into the video game Ghosts of Tsushima to show you some live action shots of some of the architecture within the game. So within the game, you have a temple that you can visit. Obviously, there's more than one, but this is one of the bigger ones. And you can see the architecture is very similar to the pictures in the previous slide. So you can see the roof, multiple roofs pointing up with the corners. So this is influenced from China. You will see this type of architecture in China and in Japan as well. And then finally, we spoke of Buddhism. So again, Buddhism begins in India, and because of Asoka's missionaries, it spread to China. But then because of China's proximity to Japan, Buddhism also spreads to Japan, becomes very influential. And again, as you're going to find out in a moment, it coexists with Shinto. So Shinto is an ethnic religion unique to Japan. So if you try to start a Shinto club at your school, ninjas will come and knock you out. I'm just kidding. But no, it is a ethnic religion unique to Japan. You won't find it in other places. However, there's the importance of natural features, forces of nature, and ancestors. All of these play into Shinto. So again, as you see from the video game clips that you're going to see coming up and the ones you've seen previously from Ghost of Tsushima, natural features are beautiful in Japan. You have the ocean, you have trees, you have mountains, etc. So in Japan, Shinto is the state religion. Now that's something different. Here in America, we don't have a state religion. We have freedom of religion or freedom from religion. You can choose if you want to be religious or not, and you can pick which religion you want to be associated with. In Japan, though, Shinto is the state religion. That is their religion, again, that coexists with Buddhism. They worship the emperor as part of that. So moving along to the Mongols. The Mongols have one of the largest empires in the world in terms of landmass, and they invaded Russia, Southwest Asia, and China, creating an empire. Additionally, they're not all warriors. They're nomadic herders. Horses are the most important part of their community. They ride horses from a very early age. Now this picture is Genghis Khan or Genghis Khan, depending on who you hear that from. I've heard his name pronounced various ways, but Genghis Khan is pretty much the way that I've heard it's appropriate, but most people say Genghis Khan. So the word Khan becomes more or less a title, kind of like Caesar, which becomes Kaiser in Germany and Tsar in Russia. So Genghis Khan is literally their most famous leader, and he's the one who set up their empire to be as big as what it was. But he has two grandsons who are also extremely important. The first grandson is called Kublai Khan. He's the Khanate in the red area on the graphic you're looking at. That's called the Yuan dynasty. That's mostly modern China plus Korea and some extra land going down to Southeast Asia. But the one that you need to know for the SOL or any type of district-wide testing would be the Golden Horde. The founder of the Golden Horde, the area in yellow at the top of the map, was Batu Khan. And again, this is one of Genghis Khan's grandsons. So finally, you need to note that the Mongols converted to local religions like Islam after conquesting a certain area. So that's very important because they kept many more people following them. Similar to what Alexander the Great did, he accepted the culture of areas that he conquered. So what the Mongols are most known for is invading areas like Russia, China, and Muslim states in Southwest Asia. They destroyed cities and countryside. They were terrible towards people. Some of the things are not appropriate for me to state in an educational video like this, but if you go to college and study, world history, you'll hear those types of things. But they created this empire, and it may not have been as big as the Roman Empire in terms of people, number of people. The landmass was larger though, but again, they were spread out and they wandered from place to place. They were herders. So as I'd stated earlier, in the game Ghost of Tsushima, the Mongols are invading Japan, and that's what the gameplay is all about. You're fighting off against the Mongols. So here you can see my character, who's a samurai, facing a group of Mongols. So hope you enjoyed this video. Remember, you can rewind as much as you need to and listen to this as needed. Hope you have a good one. Do well in your test. Good luck.